Joe?
The NIT has been great so far this season, and this is not an NIT game. Although I mean, would have maybe predicted that on what I don't know. Never mind. I don't know how to segue that. But we've got NIT game number 1. This one I think is at either 11:30 or noon 30. It is 11:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. Chicago time, so it's 10:30 a.m. Eastern time.
I think it's 11:30 on. I think it's an 11:30 tip everywhere that I check.
Wait a minute, what time is it? Oh, for some reason my clocks are messed. I apologize. Yeah, you're correct. For sure, it's got me on Mountain Time for some reason. I don't know why. It happened yesterday.
So Dayton at Chattanooga, and I believe Chattanooga's the home team because I double checked this a lot of places. I don't know why Dayton's not the host again. For what it's worth in the NIT, usually the higher seeds host it, but they're hitting the road here to the Mocs.
I guess they're using Dayton for the tournament, are they not?
The first 4, but it's free and open for the weekend now. So
yeah, maybe they book it just in case. Who knows?
Dayton minus 2.5, total of 150.5. Flyers Mocs Mac, great game.
It is a great game, and Chattanooga was fun the other night, winning in Murfreesboro. Now they get a home game to get the Flyers coming. Yeah, sign me up. Give me Chattanooga.
Yeah, Chattanooga catching points. I'll take Chattanooga plus 2.5. Takes plus 130 in the money line. I like the spot for them. Dayton doesn't travel very well. Their last game was against was FAU, and FAU had no interest in that game. I was surprised it was as close as it was. Give me Chattanooga plus the points. Chattanooga cares.
I agree, and that's a 10:30 local tip too. To pile in that thing.
No. There's gonna be 3 people there.
No, I think Chattanooga gets good crowds.
Yeah.
At 10:30 in the morning,
dude, for Dayton
on a Saturday.
I think so, man. I mean, they're getting the Dayton Flyers in there.
All right. I hope it's packed to the rafters, but I don't suspect it will be.
For what it's worth, the cocktail napkin has the total right on the dot, but the wrong team favored with Chattanooga minus 0.5. But Frank Champion is not playing for Chattanooga. Their big man who has kind of been hit or miss with injuries the entire year. Against Middle Tennessee, they just played a triple overtime game for Chattanooga. So that's another thing that I maybe worry about a little bit. But I don't know what happened with Honor Huff. He played 55 minutes, only put up 6 points, only took 9 shots total in the game, 2 free throws. So he was just kind of running cardio, and he is not a guy that typically does that. Hands on the ball a lot during their games throughout the entire year. Bounce back spot for Honor Huff at home against Dayton in what should be a get up spot for the community. Give me the Mocs. They win this game. The second and final NIT game. This one tips at 2 p.m. Eastern. Bradley at George Mason in Fairfax, Virginia there. The Pats are minus 5.5, total of 131.5, Mac.
This is an interesting game because and we didn't have this information when we broke down the Grand Canyon Maryland game. The possibility of Willard going to Villanova. If Maryland's hiring a new coach, Tony Skinn comes to mind because Tony Skinn was Kevin Willard's associate head coach 2 years ago. He's gone to Mason. He's obviously done a hell of a job. But then Brian Wardle's also involved in the Iowa job. So you have 2 coaches that I don't know where the motivation is. Give me Mason. I'll lay it with Mason. They've been terrific all year. They seem motivated. They're playing for Tony Skinn. I think there's some pride here. I'll fade Bradley away from Peoria.
Okay. So my cap on this one is that George Mason is actually one of the better perimeter defenses in the nation up against Bradley, who's actually a really good 3-point shooting team. Given the fact that Bradley has to travel, I think that tilts it in the favor of the defense. Typically with home teams, they tend to perform a bit better. I'm sorry, with teams shooting at home, with shooting teams, they tend to perform a bit better on home than on the road. I was going to get my mouth around that one way or another, Mac.
That's what she said.
So, yeah, she did. So, that being said, I like the size that Mason has. The kid Jalen Haynes in the middle. That kid's a freaking load. I don't think Bradley. Bradley's got got sticks in the roster, if I remember correctly. So I don't like the defensive matchup for Bradley. I don't like Haynes in the middle for for the Bradley defense. I'll lay the 5.5. You can continue to call me Cannabis Chalker over here.
Talking about fucking lips around it and fucking load. Good Lord. It's 3:00 in the morning, cat.
No, sorry.
TCU.
Go on over there.
Baby. Napkins got George Mason as a -4-point favorite, total at 132. I actually like the under here for a lot of the reasons that Mac mentioned and Capper mentioned already. Bradley traditionally this year they were much better away from home offensively, but traditionally they have struggled on the road to put up points. And this George Mason team is legit defensively. I think there's a world where the Braves have a little bit of a lower scoring output on the road against a great defensive team. And for that sake, I like the under as my favorite pick here. And I'll take Bradley to cover this one. I think this is a great game. Let's go.
Let's go.